Neanderthals were more technologically advanced than we thought. German and French scientists took a closer look at the birch tar used by Neanderthals to fasten tools and discovered that it was made using much more sophisticated techniques than previously thought. Recent studies indicate that our cousins produced it through a complex process, which sheds more light on their cognitive abilities. Birch tar is a sticky black goo that has been used for thousands of years for its adhesive, water repellent and even antibacterial properties. It is the oldest synthetic substance ever discovered, and its earliest uses are attributed to the Neanderthals. Produced by heating birch bark, tar was used by our ancestors primarily as a natural glue. It was used by hunters to fasten arrowheads, and it helped early craftsmen construct tools. But birch tar also had other uses. Lumps of tar found in archaeological sites often contain tooth marks, and given the antiseptic properties of birch resin, it may have also served as a prehistoric remedy for periodontal disease. Although this may also be an overinterpretation, because birch tar solidified over time and could be chewed to make it more flexible and suitable for use as an adhesive. Researchers from the University of Tübingen and the State Museum of Prehistory in Germany and the University of Strasbourg in France recently conducted a complex chemical analysis of Neanderthal artifacts in which pieces of birch tar were found. Researchers concluded that the method of its production was much more advanced than previously thought. Our extinct cousins produced it, scientists have determined, in purpose-built underground structures that limited the flow of oxygen to the wood being burned, resulting in much better quality tar. The description and results of the research were published in the journal, Archaeological and Anthropological Sciences. What makes us different from animals? It would be easiest to say that the ability to think abstractly. However, we wouldn't have to look that far. Until a certain point, the ability to make tools was taken into account as such a determinant. However, some animals are able to use certain items in this capacity. Another here is the ability to produce, synthesize substances that do not occur in nature. In this context, we are in for a surprise, because it turns out that these types of skills are not characteristic only of modern people. It turned out that the Neanderthals were quite good at, for example, producing birch tar. And it was around 100,000 years before modern humans mastered these techniques. This substance was used by the Neanderthals to join stone, bone and wood together to make tools. They were durable and moisture resistant. But how would the Neanderthals do that? So far, two possibilities have been considered: a simple production process or obtaining this tar, e.g. from stones after extinguishing the fire. The truth, however, turned out to be much more surprising. The researchers found that in order to obtain tar from birch resin, the Neanderthals used the most efficient method possible, i.e. distillation with limited access to oxygen. And as the researchers point out, it could not be a coincidence. This means that the Neanderthals probably started with much simpler techniques, and then through experiments concluded that distillation is the best method here. Scientists decided to go a step further and try to determine exactly what technique our cousins used. For this purpose, they prepared 5 stations for the experiment, where they tried to produce birch tar. 2 where ground techniques were used and 3 where underground techniques were used. After obtaining the tar in this way, they examined it using infrared spectroscopy, gas chromatography, mass spectrometry and computed microtomography. The aim was to compare the obtained products with samples of tar produced by Neanderthals. What distinguishes terrestrial methods from underground methods is undoubtedly the amount of available oxygen. And it is she who leaves her marker in the tar, which helped to conclude that the Neanderthals certainly used the underground method. This is again surprising and again reflects well on him, because in this case, at the start of the process, you no longer have the full opportunity to observe its course and, most importantly, make corrections. Therefore, the whole process must be prepared very precisely from the very beginning. In recent years, archaeologists have found ample evidence that some of the technological innovations considered modern man's inventions were already in use among the Neanderthals. According to the research in question, they invented and perfected a technique for the production of synthetic material. This, in turn, shows that the Neanderthals were not primitive individuals chasing prey with clubs, as is commonly believed. The death rate caused by the Black Death pandemic was not as high as thought. Although the plague affected people in many parts of Europe, there were areas where the impact was negligible or no plague at all, an international group of scientists has determined. Such conclusions were reached, among others, by thanks to the study of fossil spores and pollen. The Black Death, which plagued Europe, West Asia and North Africa between 1347 and 1352, is considered the most terrible pandemic in history. It was the first wave of second plague pandemic. Historians have so far estimated that up to half of the population of Europe died during the war, and on this basis attributed the Black Death to the transformation of religious and political structures, and even to the acceleration of major cultural and economic changes, such as the advent of the Renaissance or the rise of capitalism. Meanwhile, although research on ancient DNA has identified the bacterium Yersinia pestis as the causative agent of the Black Death, and even traced its evolution over the millennia, data on the demographic effects of the plague are still little explored. However, new research shows that the mortality caused by the plague in Europe in the mid-14th century was not as common and as high as previously thought, scientists write in Nature Ecology and Evolution. The new publication is the result of the work of an international team of researchers, including scientists from many European centers. Researchers analyzed pollen samples preserved in the sediments of 261 lakes and wetlands in 19 modern European countries. This allowed them to determine how landscapes and agricultural activity changed between 1250 and 1450, roughly 100 years before and 100 years after the pandemic. Their analysis confirms the devastation experienced by some regions of Europe. It also shows that the Black Death did not affect all regions equally, the authors of the study said. Palynology, the study of fungal spores and pollen, is a good tool for unraveling the demographic effects of the Black Death. This is because the human impact on the landscape in pre-industrial times, primarily agriculture and forestry subordinated to construction needs, was largely dependent on the availability of workers, emphasizes Dr. Adam Izdebski, head of the Paleoscience and History Group at the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History. Using a new approach called Big Data Paleoecology, BDP, the researchers analyzed 1,634 pollen samples from sites across Europe to see which plants grew in which area and determine whether farming activities during the pandemic in a given place was stopped, whether its intensity decreased or increased, which must have been associated with fluctuations in the population. They also checked whether there were any signs of revival of wild vegetation, which could mean a reduction in human pressure on the landscape. The research of the international team shows that the mortality rate as a result of the epidemic varied greatly. Some areas experienced damage on an unprecedented scale, while others suffered much more mildly. The sharp decline in agricultural production in Scandinavia, France, southwestern Germany, Greece and central Italy confirms the high mortality, as evidenced by medieval historical and archaeological sources. Meanwhile, many regions, including most of Central and Eastern Europe and parts of Western Europe, including Ireland and the Iberian Peninsula, show evidence of continuous or uninterrupted agricultural growth. The large variation in mortality rates we confirmed with pollen data and the BDP method needs to be clarified in further studies that take into account local cultural, environmental, economic and social contexts. A number of local circumstances could have influenced the occurrence of plague bacteria, morbidity and mortality, says Dr. Piotr Guzowski from the University of Białystok. The researchers emphasize the uniqueness of this research. Most of the historical sources that have been used so far in the study of the Black Death came from urban areas that were characterized by a higher culture of writing and the development of bureaucracy, but also denser population and poor sanitation. Meanwhile, in the middle of the 14th century, more than 3/4 of the population of all European regions was rural. Current research shows that in order to reliably determine the scale of human losses in a given region, data from local sources should be used, not only historical ones, but also nature archives and BDP as a method of reconstructing changes in the landscape. There is no single model of pandemic or epidemic of plague that can be applied to any place at any time, regardless of context, emphasizes Adam Izdebski from the Max Planck Institute. Pandemics are complex phenomena that have regional, local histories. We still see it with COVID-19. Now we've shown it with the Black Death. Variations in Black Death mortality across Europe show that plague was a dynamic disease, with cultural, ecological, economic and climatic factors influencing its spread and impact on societies. The authors of the study hope that in the future, paleoecological data will be used even more extensively to understand how various local variables have influenced each other and shaped past and current pandemics. Experimental obesity drug helps you lose more than 20% of your body weight. The experimental drug, which is currently still in clinical trials, allowed participants to lose more than 20% of their body weight. Similar results have so far only been possible with bariatric surgery. Tirzepatide, because we are talking about it, is administered in the form of weekly injections and mimics natural hormones that suppress appetite. Obesity has become a global problem in recent years. This condition increases the risk of developing many diseases, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers, and even severe COVID-19. Obesity is also extremely difficult to treat. The therapy is associated with the patient's involvement, who must permanently change his lifestyle, start eating healthy and taking up physical activity. And it is not easy and it does not always give the expected results. Genetic factors also play a role in many cases. Obese people, apart from changing their lifestyle and increasing physical activity, have two additional options: slimming drugs and bariatric surgery. The operation is invasive and carries various risks and complications. When it comes to medications, they don't always work and they can also have side effects. However, in the case of drugs, Tirzepatide therapy brings new hope. Tirzepatide was developed by the American pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly. It is taken as an injection once a week. The agent supports weight loss by imitating the action of natural intestinal hormones called incretins. These hormones lower blood sugar levels after eating and also regulate metabolic processes related to digestion. Tirzepatide is a synthetic combination of two specific incretins, glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1, and glucose-dependent insulinotropic peptide, GIP. GLP-1 causes weight loss by reducing hunger, increasing satiety, and thus helping people eat less and reduce their caloric intake. It is the basis of the anti-diabetic drug semaglutide, which was approved in the USA as a slimming drug in 2021. The FDA approval, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration responsible, among others, for the control of new drugs introduced to the market, was granted in connection with the extremely promising results of studies described by scientists as a breakthrough in weight loss. However, it seems that tirzepatide, thanks to the addition of GIP incretin alongside GLP-1, may turn out to be even better. Phase 3 clinical trials of tirzepatide included 2,539 overweight or obese subjects with one weight-related comorbidity, excluding type 2 diabetes, for 72 weeks. During this time, participants received either tirzepatide or a placebo. They also received support in adhering to a reduced-calorie diet. They also had to increase their physical activity. Tirzepatide was given in one of 3 different doses: 5, 10 or 15 milligrams in a weekly injection. All 3 groups had significant weight loss over the course of the study. At the highest dose, 15 milligrams, participants reported an average weight loss of 22.5%. Average 24 kilogram. The 10 milligrams dose allowed a reduction of 21.4%. Weight, average 22 kilograms, and the 5 milligrams dose resulted in an average of 16%. Weight loss, average 16 kilogram. In comparison, the control group that took the placebo lost only 2.4% of their body weight, average 2 kilograms. As for semaglutide, studies have shown that it allowed for a reduction of about 17%. Body weight. The average weight loss results with tirzepatide appear to be slightly superior to previously studied semaglutide treatments and are similar to expected weight loss after bariatric surgery. Tirzepatide is the first investigational drug to deliver an average of more than 20% weight loss in a Phase 3 study, said Jeff Emick, Vice President of Product Development for Eli Lilly. Promising results are one thing, but patient safety is paramount. Studies have shown that some participants experienced side effects from taking tirzepatide. Depending on the dose, up to a third of the group experienced nausea. Diarrhea was also common, 18.7 to 23% of participants. Some people also experienced vomiting and constipation. Although it is worth noting that only a small percentage of participants dropped out of the study due to side effects. However, the fight against obesity costs money. Assuming that the study results will convince the FDA to launch the drug is currently submitted for review for the treatment of diabetes and not obesity. The question of its price remains. As noted by commentators, semaglutide, marketed as a weight loss drug under the brand name Wegovy by Danish pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk, costs more than $1,300 a month. Such a high price means that few patients will benefit from the therapy, especially since such therapies are rarely reimbursed. If the same happens with tirzepatide, It could be another case of a potentially brilliant, life-changing drug that many people unfortunately won't be able to buy. It should also be noted that Novo Nordisk set such a price for the American market. Outside the US, the preparation costs several times less. However, as the researchers point out, if we can ensure equitable access to the next generation of drugs for obesity, the health of millions of people around the world can be improved. This is extremely exciting. Preliminary data showing bariatric surgery-level weight loss with a drug that likely provides many other metabolic benefits, said Helio Scott Kahn, director of the National Center for Weight and Wellness in Washington, D.C. A revolution in solar energy. New technology can replace fossil fuels. The Heliogen company boasted a solution that has the potential to revolutionize the acquisition of energy from the sun. Thanks to the skillful use of mirrors, sunlight is concentrated at one point, generating temperatures exceeding 1000 degrees Celsius. This type of solution could successfully supply heavy industry. Anyone who played with a magnifying glass as a child knows that a concentrated beam of sunlight can reach really high temperatures. Heliogen is essentially doing what kids with a magnifying glass do, only with better toys, and on a much larger scale. Heliogen, a startup funded by Bill Gates, has said it has harnessed solar power to greater effect than ever before, producing enough heat to power an industry that now depends on fossil fuels. What's more, this solution does not emit carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, thanks to the mirror system, which is controlled by artificial intelligence algorithms. Engineers from Heliogen managed to focus the light at one point, reaching a temperature exceeding 1000 degrees Celsius. The company's representatives claim that focused beams of light are able to generate temperatures of up to 1500 degrees Celsius. This means that solar energy could replace fossil fuels in many industries. The world has little time to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, said Bill Gross, Heliogen's CEO. We have made great strides in implementing clean energy into our energy system. However, clean electricity accounts for less than a quarter of global demand. Heliogen represents a technological advancement in meeting the remaining 75% of energy needs. Thanks to an inexpensive, highly efficient process, we have the opportunity to make a significant contribution to solving the climate crisis, he added. Producing energy by concentrating light and using the generated heat is not a new idea. But Heliogen has been able to achieve very high temperatures with its systems, which opens the way to many new possibilities. The algorithms used to control the mirror system use high-resolution cameras to determine the position of each 1.5 square meter mirror. They optimize the angle at which hundreds of mirrors are set and adjust the changes to the apparent movement of the sun across the sky. The setting must be perfect to achieve such a high temperature. Even the smallest deviation of several mirrors will lower the temperature obtained. Today, industrial processes, such as those used to make cement or steel, account for more than 1/5 of all emissions, Bill Gates said in a statement to Heliogen's achievements. The ability to reach the high temperatures required for these processes is a promising advance in the quest to replace fossil fuels. If we are to achieve zero carbon emissions overall, we have a lot to invent, he added. But the founder of Microsoft is not the only one who saw the potential of such a solution. The California startup also received the support of the owner of the Los Angeles Times, Patrick Soon-Shiong. Although it is not known how much the billionaires donated to the development of technology. The plan to reach a temperature of 1,500 degrees Celsius would allow the separation of a hydrogen particle from water. The cheap production of hydrogen from water would give a chance to use it in fuel cells, which in turn could be used to power cars, for example. Hydrogen fuels have long been indicated as a clean and ecological way to meet our transport needs. Of course, this technology has some drawbacks. It will not work to provide energy after dark or on cloudy days. An effective energy storage solution is needed here. In addition, it gives an advantage in generating energy to sunnier parts of the world.